Okay, so we're going to go into our first story, and this is about Motor Yacht Fee. Now, you remember this vessel has been in London in Canary Wharf since last year. Well, the owner of Motor Yacht Fee took the UK government to court last week, and he lost his case. So the UK government's arrest and detention of the Russian businessman's £38 million yacht, which is about $49 million, was lawful. A London court ruled today. The court rejected the case by Sergei Naumenko, a property developer who is not on any sanctions lists, and ruled in favour of extending the 2022 detention of the 60-metre or 197-foot yacht Fee. The judge, Ross Cranston, ruled that the UK government has a lot of leeway in this type of action, saying that the Secretary of State is entitled to a broad margin of discretion in deciding that the detention power is to be exercised in pursuit of the government's foreign policy aims. The yacht arrived in London in December 2021 and has been detained since March 2022 when she attempted to leave Canary Wharf. One of the reasons why she was there was to go to an award ceremony in London. So this will no doubt be a boost to the government's attempts to get tougher on wealthy Russians and encourage them to speak out against the Russian President Vladimir Putin, which seems to be the desire of the UK government to get prominent Russians to speak out against the war in Ukraine. Now, Naumenko had sued the UK's Department of Transport, saying that he's never been involved in political activities, he has no connections with the Russian president, and that the boat was detained by the UK just to look tough. Now, the UK court rejected Naumenko's argument that the UK is effectively trying to compel Naumenko to criticise the Russian government without considering the adverse impact on him and his business at home, in Russia, of course. The UK government's lawyer had argued in the hearing that the yacht was detained as Naumenko fits the criteria of a person connected with Russia. Sanctioning a luxury yacht sends a signal to other super-rich Russians and can potentially deter them from giving political support to the Russian regime or tolerating its actions, the government's lawyer had said in the hearing that was last week. We're going to go on to our next story, but these are connected, these stories, based on what we just talked about with Sergei Naumenko. And this is about Oleg Tinkov. He's the owner of Motor Yacht Ladacha. Now, we've not really mentioned this vessel on the channel in the whole year since last year, because this is a person who has effectively been outside of the political discussions. And we'll go into that now. He was sanctioned by the UK, but the UK has this week removed sanctions against the Russian-born Oleg Tinkov. He's the most outspoken billionaire to criticise Vladimir Putin's war in Ukraine. The Foreign Office said on Thursday that Tinkov would no longer be subject to sanctions following an appeal which he argued the UK had sanctioned him in error, and he enlisted support of people such as Richard Branson, as well as Mikhail Khodorkovsky, who's a major opponent of the Russian president, to make his case. Now, whereas most Russian oligarchs have spoken out against the invasion only in sort of guarded terms, Tinkov has denounced the war, calling it crazy. He also renounced his Russian citizenship last year. Now, he has previously posted on Instagram comments such as, "I don't see any beneficiary of this crazy war. Innocent people and soldiers are dying." And then he went on to say, "I can't watch my former countrymen killing and robbing civilians for no good reason." That was from a post in October. And he said, "I hope more businessmen will follow my example and stop working for fascism and give up their businesses and citizenship." This is what I was saying about Sergei Naumenko, because what happened after he did this is the Russian government basically took his company from him. He has a Russian bank and he owned a large stake in this bank. Now, after posting these comments, he said he was forced to sell his shares in the bank in Russia in a fire sale. And he said that if he'd refused to sell, the government would nationalize the bank. Now, there's a long history of the Russian government doing this to companies in Russia. He sold his shares to Vladimir Potanin, someone we've recently mentioned on the channel, and another yacht owner. And he said he was forced to sell for about 3% of what they were worth. So this is what happens to Russians if you criticize the Russian government. And he's now in hiding, fearing for his life. Now, remember what Mr. Naumenko said in the London court. he said that the government was effectively trying to compel him to criticize the Russian government without considering the adverse impact of him and his business at home. Well, there's an example of what happens when you go out and criticize the Russian government, right? They basically take your companies from you. Hi, thanks very much for watching this video. You've been watching a Super Yacht News clip. If you'd like to see the full unedited Super Yacht News video, you can click on the link over here. You can also find our channel links below here. And if you'd like to see more shorter videos like this one, be sure to subscribe to this channel.